The next global crisis won't begin with a market crash or a banking failure. It will begin the moment people stop trusting the US dollar. And when trust breaks, everything built on top of it breaks with it. Savings, retirement, prices, stability, and the very idea of economic security. Most Americans think this could never happen. But the signs are already everywhere. And almost nobody is paying attention. So what really happens when the world starts losing trust in the dollar? Welcome to the financial injustice. The dollar is not powerful because it's printed by the United States. It's powerful because the world believes in it. That belief, that silent confidence, is the invisible foundation of the modern economy. But here's the truth. Americans were never meant to learn. Currencies don't collapse when they lose value. They collapse when they lose trust. Value is math. Trust is psychology. And psychology can flip overnight. The US dollar became the world's reserve currency after World War II for one reason. The world trusted the United States more than anyone else. They trusted American stability. They trusted American markets. They trusted American institutions. They trusted American leadership. And they trusted American promises. But trust is a fragile asset. Easier to lose than to gain. Harder to rebuild than to destroy. And right now, the trust behind the dollar is weakening from multiple directions. Let's start with the simplest crack: debt. America owes more money than any nation in human history, more than any empire, more than any government that believed it could borrow forever, until the borrowing broke them. Every country that ever lost its currency's dominance lost it the same way, through debt, inflation, and the slow decay of credibility. Spain in the 1600s, France in the 1700s, Britain in the early 1900s, all global powers. All replaced when the world lost faith in their money. History doesn't repeat, but it doesn't need to. It only needs to rhyme. And right now, America's debt is not a number. It's a warning. When the world sees a nation piling trillions on top of trillions, printing money to solve problems, and inflating away the value of its own currency, trust begins to erode. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, consistently. Then, all at once. The second crack is inflation. Americans lost more purchasing power in the last 3 years than in decades before. And the world noticed. Investors noticed. Foreign governments noticed. Trading partners noticed. Rivals noticed. Even allies noticed. When a country lets inflation spiral, the world asks a simple question. If they don't protect the value of their own money, why should we hold it? Inflation attacks trust, not just at home, but globally. When the world sees Americans struggling with the cost of living, when it sees savings destroyed, when it sees the Federal Reserve scrambling, when it sees the government relying on money creation rather than discipline, trust cracks again. The third crack is weaponization. For decades, the dollar was neutral, a stable global currency, above political conflict. But in recent years, the United States began freezing reserves, blocking transactions, and using the dollar system as leverage. To many Americans, this feels like strength. To the rest of the world, it feels like risk. Nations ask themselves, what happens if we disagree with the US? Could our reserves be frozen? Could our transactions be stopped? And when a currency becomes a political weapon, other nations begin looking for ways to protect themselves. That is how trust dies. Slowly at first, then suddenly. The fourth crack is competition. For the first time in 80 years, the dollar has real challengers. BRICS nations building alternative payment systems. China and Russia moving away from dollar-based trade. Saudi Arabia considering non-dollar oil pricing. India and Brazil testing new settlement currencies. Countries signing bilateral agreements that bypass the dollar entirely. None of these moves are enough to dethrone the dollar alone. But together, they form the beginning of a shift driven not by strength from rivals, but by weakness from within. The world is not running toward a new leader. It's stepping away from an old one. But here's the most important part. the part that almost nobody understands. The dollar doesn't collapse when the world finds a better currency. It collapses when the world decides it no longer needs this one. That decision doesn't happen in the open. It happens quietly, in meeting rooms, in trade negotiations, in policy papers, in banking systems, in the slow restructuring of global reserves. And once trust breaks, the consequences cascade instantly. Foreign countries dump U.S. bonds. Interest rates spike. The U.S. can't finance its debt cheaply anymore. Inflation surges as imports become more expensive. The stock market loses its cushion. The housing market cracks. Retirement accounts suffer. And the American consumer, already stretched thin, takes the hit first. Every currency collapse in history followed the same script. Confidence, doubt, diversification, exit, collapse. Right now, the world is in the diversification phase, the quiet middle step, the stage where trust is eroding, but nobody wants to say it out loud. But what does it actually mean for ordinary Americans when the dollar loses trust? It means the cost of living explodes. Imports cost more. Groceries, gas, medicine all rise quickly. Savings lose value faster. Retirement accounts shrink. Interest rates stay permanently elevated. Loans become harder to get and much more expensive. Home prices stop rising, but monthly payments skyrocket. The government prints more to cover the gaps, and every new dollar buys less than the one before. This isn't theory, it's history. It has happened to every global reserve currency that lost trust. And the people who paid the price were never the elites, never the asset holders, never the political class. It was always the workers, the savers, the middle class, the families just trying to survive, the people who believed the system would protect them. That's the injustice. But here's the paradox. The dollar will remain powerful right up until the moment it's not. That's how trust works. It holds until it doesn't. It looks stable until the moment it snaps. It feels permanent until history proves it never was. And when the snap comes, the world won't politely announce it. It will simply move on. The only question left is this: if the dollar's strength has always depended on trust, what happens when millions of people, both inside the United States and around the world, stop believing? Because once trust breaks, it's almost impossible to rebuild. If this made you question the stability of the world's most powerful currency, subscribe. Because in a world built on financial injustice, belief is the foundation, and foundations don't last forever.